Good morning everyone, and I welcome you all to the NPTEL course on Mechanical and Electrical Systems of Mining Machines. I am Professor Sunita Mishra and I am a faculty in the Department of Mining Engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. So, taking you through the concepts that would be covered in this course. So, this course has 4 modules. Where the first module starts with the fundamentals of mechanical systems of mining machines, where we will be taking you through the overview on mining machines. Then we will be going through the simple mechanism, belt, ropes and chain drives, tooth gear and gear trains, brakes and dynamometers, internal combustion engine, and finally we will be completing this module with mechanical power transmission system that are basically used in dump trucks. Then we will be taking you to module 2, which will be covered by my co-instructor Professor Aravinda Rautrai. He will be taking you through the fundamentals of electrical systems of mining machines, where he will be discussing on the fundamentals of power systems, basics of transformers, cables and motors. Then he will be going to power converters and controls, signal processing and sensor technology. He will also add up to the basics of machine learning that is being used for mining systems. Then he will be giving an introduction to data analytics that are being used for mining operations. Then finally he will be taking you to the digital systems and communications for mining operations, and he will be showing the application of IoT that is being used to the mining industry. Then we will be taking you to module 3 and module 4, where we will be discussing about mechanical and electrical systems in heavy earth moving machineries. So when we talk about the machines that are being used in mines, so that we call them as heavy earth moving machineries rather the normal machineries, because the normal machinery may be of smaller in size and scale. However, when we talk about the heavy earth moving machineries, they are well equipped and capable to do the heavy operations in the mining environment. So, in the mechanical and electrical systems of heavy earth moving machineries, we will be taking you first through the rope and non-rope shovels. We will be giving you an insight into the mechanical, electrical and control system of these machines. Then we will be going through similarly to drag line, bucket wheel excavator, continuous miner, shearer and pumps. We will be also discussing about the fleet management system that we take up in mines for smooth operation of fleets like shovel dumper combination. Then finally we will be touching upon the mechatronics that is being employed for the mining systems. So when we talk about mechatronics, it is the amalgamation of electronics, mechanics and electrical systems that helps us in safe operation of this mining systems. So this slide tells about the classifications of the mining machines, but before we go through this slide, we let us understand that what the mining machine is all about. So we understand mining involves the breaking of ground and collecting the broken bulk material for subsequent transportation, storage, reclamation or dumping. However, these are quite heavy works that cannot be done, or it is quite strenuous for the mine workers. So that is why there have been many mining machines that have been developed that makes the life of the workers or the mine officials easier. Now when we classify these mining machines, they are broadly classified into 6 categories. So let us go through them one by one. So the first one is the surface mining machineries that are being generally used in open cast mining operations. The second category is the underground mining machineries, which are used for underground mining operations. And then we have a third category, which is the high wall mining machinery, which is used for specifically when we are going through or we are opting for a high well mining operation. Now when we see all these three different types of machinery classes, so they are basically classified based on the mining methods. We also have another kind of category which we call it as a quarry mining machinery, where this kind of machineries are being used uh, in quarry mining of limestone, dolomite, granite, marble, etc. Well, along with these machineries that are being used for different mining operations in different conditions, either it is an open cast mining or underground mining, or it is a high well mining, or it is a quarry mining, we have various auxiliary mining machineries which are being used for the auxiliary operations, like for transportation. It is not only that we only dig out the material and we just manually dump it to another site or transport it to another site, but we have various auxiliary mining operations like dump trucks, scrapers, dozers, loaders, loaders in the sense payloaders. So there are so many mining machineries that are being used for this auxiliary operations, which are very much necessary for the smooth operation of the mines. However, after dumping it to a site, it is not directly consumed. The ore material that is excavated, it is not directly consumed by the consumer, but there is a processing plant which process this ore material into definite size, or there are multiple cleansing operation that takes place for the ore to be finally used by the relevant consumers. So for that we have processing plant machineries. If you see here, there are few of the pictures here which tells you how a heavy earth moving machinery looks like. Here we have a dump truck which helps in the transportation. We have a non-rope or a hydraulic shovel. We have a rope shovel. This many of you may get confused as a payloader. However, it is a load haul dumper which is used as a transport machinery in underground mining operations. This many of you may be identifying it as a underground mining machinery, which we call it as a continuous miner. We also have another class of machinery which is generally used for civil engineering applications, which we call it as a tunnel boring machine, and it looks as is shown in the picture. Now when we broadly classify the surface mining machineries, we classify them into four categories as excavators, transport equipment, road making and maintenance equipment, and drilling equipment. So if we see here, we have a shovel here and we have a drag line here, which we classify it as the excavators. Here we also have a bucket wheel excavator, which we classify it as a under the excavator category. So when we talk about excavators, they are of two types. One is the intermittent discharge type equipment and one is the continuous discharge type equipment. What is the difference between these two? When the intermittent discharge type excavator excavates the material, it does not continuously does the excavation. However, it does the it digs into the ore body and then it takes some time to dump it onto another equipment or machinery. However, when we talk about a continuous discharge type equipment, in this the excavator does the continuous excavating operation where it excavates the material and then the material is directly dumped onto a transport machinery which carries it to the dumping site. Now when we see about this intermittent discharge type equipment, they are of two types. One is working as a pure excavator and one working as part excavator and part transport equipment. When we talk about a pure excavator, they are of two types. One is shovel and one is dragline. So when we talk about shovel, they are again of two kinds. One is a rope shovel and the other is a non-rope shovel, which is a hydraulic shovel. When we talk about draglines, they are again of two types based on their travel mechanism. One is a walking dragline and one is a crawler mounted dragline. Now again, in intermittent discharge type equipment, we see that the excavator is a part excavator and it is a part transport equipment. So in pure excavator, it does only the excavation and it does not do any kind of transport operation. However, in this type of excavator where the working is as part excavator and part transport equipment, we have two kinds. One is scraper and one is a payloader. So here is a picture of a scraper and here is a picture of payloader. So here you can see in excavator we have the rope shovel here and we have the drag line here. Now coming to the continuous discharge type equipment, where the cutting teeth would be doing the continuous excavating operation and it does not stop while it dumps it onto a transport equipment. So here we have two kinds. One is a bucket wheel excavator, the other is the bucket chain elevator. So you see, if you see this huge machinery where there are buckets on this front wheel, we call it as a bucket wheel excavator, which does the continuous excavating operation, and then while it turns over, it dumps the material onto the conveyor which passes through this wheel boom that we see here, the belt conveyor that is housed in this wheel boom. And now there are other booms as well, which through which again the belt conveyor goes through and it goes till the dumping site. Then we have bucket chain elevator. You see, this is how a bucket chain elevator looks like. However, it is not a very successful technology. Now coming to the transport equipment, again we have two kinds. One is the intermittent discharge type and one is a continuous discharge type. So the example of intermittent discharge type transport equipment is dump truck, which takes on the material and it moves to the dumping site. However, in a continuous discharge type, if you see, the example is the belt conveyor, which continuously would be taking the material and would be moving to the dumping site. Now there are again classes of road making and maintenance equipment, where we again have two kinds. One is a dozer and one is the grader. So the dozer helps in dozing of any heavy material that comes in a way while we do the mining operation, and the grader helps in making the path for all the heavy machineries to pass from one point to the other. The fourth category of the surface mining machinery is the drilling machines. So in drilling machines, again we have a diesel driven and electric driven. In all of the other categories, that is the road making, transport or excavating, we see that we have mechanical ones, that is a diesel driven, and the electrical ones, which is electric driven. So this is how a drilling machine looks like. Now when we talk about the uses of this surface mining machinery, they are used specifically in surface mining industries to excavate and transport minerals like coal, lignite, iron ore, copper ore, bauxite, limestone, etc. Or they can also be used in steel industry, irrigation projects, agricultural fields, in cities and towns to clean and handle garbage heap, as you can see here in this picture, or construct tube railways, as you can see with this machine that is helping in boring through a soft soil or soft rock or soil. Now when we talk about the different operations at the different phases of surface mining machinery, so you can see there are multiple phases starting from preparation to the extension phase, where we use different groups of equipments. It is not that all the equipments are used simultaneously for all the phases, but there are different groups of equipments. As in, if we see in preparation phase, we need dozers, rippers, compactors, crane, motor graders and scrapers. They are basically used for clearance of wood, timber falling and stumping, drainage network construction, topsoil excavation and storage. In construction phase as well, we have another group of machineries which helps us in the construction phase. And then if we go till the extension phase, so we again have special machines for these types of restoration works. So what we see that there are different groups of surface mining machineries that are used in different phases of the surface mining operations. So here is an example from the open pit mining operation in Pilbara region of Western Australia, where you can see the location is identified here, and here you can see from the exploration phase, where we use a drill rig, to the geological assessment, where we get this kind of course, then from the planning and development stage to production drilling, to the blasting and excavation, and then finally on to the ship loading. There are various machineries that are used for making these operations happen successfully. Now when we talk about this mining machine, so the first thing that comes into our mind, how do we specify these mining machines, or when do we go to a shopkeeper, so or a manufacturer of this kind of mining machines, then how do we tell them about our requirement? So we have specifications, different specifications of these mining machines. For, let's say, for excavator, we specify it in terms of bucket capacity, which is in cubic meter or cubic yard, and boom length, which is either in meter or in feet. So in some of the cases, the bucket capacity is only defined, like in shovels, scrapers or payloaders, and in some cases they are specified by both bucket capacity and boom length, like in drag lines. So if you want to see the picture of a drag line, so if you see, this is one of the machine in which both bucket capacity, this is the bucket, and the boom length, both are important, because where do we use drag lines? So the question comes first. So we basically use drag line for removal of the overburden. Now when the places where we do not want to employ, or we want to reduce the reduce our operational cost by employing a dump truck, so or a belt conveyor, so in those places we use a drag line, where we have a stable ground, the overburden to a certain length, where they would have conventionally loosened by using the conventional drilling and blasting technique, and then this drag line would be standing at one place, which would be scraping the material, filling up the bucket, and then directly dumping it onto the dumping yard. However, for shovels, scrapers and payloaders, they are only specified by using the bucket capacity, because the shovel would excavate at the face, or the scraper would excavate on a specific part of the land that it needs to excavate, or the payloader would be taking up the material from one point to the other, where the boom length is not important. However, in Some of the machines like the bucket wheel excavator or the bucket chain elevator, the bucket capacity is specified in terms of liters, not in cubic meter. So, if you see, here is a bucket wheel excavator where we have multiple buckets. So, that is why in order to see the capacity of this complete bucket wheel excavator, it is defined in terms of liters. Now, when we talk about the bucket capacity, how do we define it? It is the inner volume of a bucket measured in any systems, and they are again of two types. One is a struck capacity and one is a heap capacity. So, let us say you have a jar where you are filling it with sugar. So, you fill it till its top berm, and then you just pack it, you tap it few times and then you try to fill it to its berm. So, that we call it as the struck capacity. So, it is the inner volume when material level on the top of the bucket is assumed to be horizontal. However, even though the jar is filled with the sugar, you try to pour more sugar into the jar, there will be a hip that would be formed on the top of the top berm. So, which we call it as the hip capacity. It is the inner volume when material level on the top of the bucket is assumed to be in a form of convex hip. So, if you can see here, it is a convex hip that you see on the top of the bucket, which we tell it as a hip capacity. So, here if you see, for the shovel, the scraper or the payloader, it is only specified, the bucket capacity is only specified. However, for drag line, it is the boom length and the bucket capacity. However, for bucket wheel excavator or bucket chain elevator, it is the bucket capacity is specified in terms of liters. Now, coming to the specification of dumpers, we specify the weight of dumpers as the maximum weight of the material, that is in tons, that is either 25 ton, 35 ton, 50 ton, 85 ton and so on. So, why is it in ton? The question comes, why is it in ton and not in cubic meter? When we talk about the dumpers, so it has a engine capacity which it can carry. So, let us say let us take an example of a donkey. So, if the donkey has certain capacity to pull certain amount of material that is put on its back. So, the same way goes for the dump truck. So, it has certain engine capacity to pull certain amount of material that it can transport from one point to the other. If you put more amount of bags onto the back of a donkey, then it may fail, it may not be able to transport it from one point to the other. So, in the similar manner, the engine will not be able to pull if we do not specify it in terms of weight, that is in tonnage, but if we specify it in terms of cubic meters, that is its bucket, that is its bucket capacity. Now, the same goes with the belt conveyor, where we see its carrying capacity, which is ton per hour, and the belt width. So, the belt conveyor has certain width of the belt which it can carry from one point to the other. Again, for dozer, we have the dozer blade width and the power of the engine and the total weight that it dozes off. So, the same goes for the grader as well. So, now coming to the drilling machine. So, where we specify it in terms of the diameter of the drill rods that is used in drilling. So, here we can see a single drill bit or multiple drill bits which helps in the drilling operation. So, till this we complete for this current class. In next class, we will go more into the shape and sizes of these mining machines. Thank you.